What is going on, everybody? Texas Garden Guy here, and if you've been following me for a while, you know that I'm obsessed with desert roses. This is my biggest one. I actually call this guy Red Star. This is one of my only adeniums that actually puts out a ton of blooms, but also puts out seed pods. And if you're new to adeniums, you'll probably not know this, but adeniums and desert roses don't start putting out seed pods till they become really mature. When I first picked this one up about a year ago, it was in one giant pot, and it had 3 or 4 different desert roses inside of it, and they were starting to wrap up with each other. And it's beautiful. It's my favorite plant in the entire garden. I will never get rid of this plant ever, ever, ever. Not only because it is so beautiful, but because it puts out a lot of seeds so I can plant more. Anytime I'm out in a nursery looking around for plants and I see something similar to this, I make sure to snatch it up. So I was at a place called Jimbo's nursery yesterday doing a garden talk, and I saw this. So when I'm looking at desert roses, I'm not always looking for the most growth on the top, the prettiest flowers. More than anything, I'm looking for a fat codex. And what you see at the bottom is called the codex. These are called codiforms. There are a bunch of different varieties of codiforms. Basically, they store the water in the trunk, in the base of them. You know, like the big baobab trees like in Africa? Those are codiforms, and so are these. So what a lot of people like me look for is how fat is that base. And I don't know if y'all can tell, but this is a big fat codex right here. Big fat codex. And this is either another small one growing right next to it, or it is actually merged together like Red Star has. So let's get this emptied out and we'll get it repotted and check out what this codex is going to look like. I am so excited to see what's in this pot. First thing I got to do is move this off the table, because if I don't, it's going to break my potting table. The pot alone is like 20 pounds. I will be doing a video repotting this. I don't like the way this is situated. I want to get it in a shallower pot so that the roots grow more outward. So that video will be coming up soon. It's gonna be a big undertaking. This thing is huge. So let's get this on the ground. And this is actually one that I found at Lowe's. Apparently Lowe's sells desert roses now, and I repotted it last night. This is actually a Walmart pot. One thing you want to make sure you do when you repot a desert rose or an adenium is not to put it in a pot that has like an inward lip. The roots get really thick and chunky, so if you have a pot with an inward lip, I've had to break pots before because I could not get the plant out of the pot. So be mindful. I did use a mixture of Soul Soils succulent chunky mix on this one, along with the Bonsai Supplies all-purpose bonsai mix. I kind of mixed them together. I like a little bit of both worlds. But the main thing is you want really good drainage, and we'll get into that here in a second when we start repotting this one. So a little bit of advice: if you're handling one of these for the first time, the sap can be toxic to get on your fingers if you have like an open cut, or if you get in your eyes. So if you don't know what you're doing, wear safety glasses, wear gloves. I've been dealing with these for a couple of years now. Always use the proper precautions. Do as I say, not as I do. Got a bin here. We're going to dump this old black soil out, and we're going to dump this pot. Dump this pot so I can get y'all a good angle so I can see exactly what I'm doing. And we're just going to expose the codex. Kind of be gentle with it. You don't want to just go jerking these out of the ground like a freaking potato. Someone told me these resemble a character from the Harry Potter world. They're like a human plant that you pull out of the ground. I forget what they're called. Someone in the comment section will probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Let's go ahead and pull these out. I'm already seeing it. This is really wide at the base. Trying not to disturb roots. See if we can kind of wiggle this. You can kind of squeeze the pot a little bit. And dump some more of that soil out. Oh man, here we go. Here we go. Wow. Okay. Look at this. Look at the base. Wow. Okay, cool. So this is not too intertwined, so this is really cool. We can take the little baby ones and we can separate them and put them in their own little pots. We're just going to set these off to the side for now. Perfect. Looks like we have another one right here. Little babies. It's not going off the side. Looks like it might just be intertwined a little bit. There we go. Another little baby. We'll put these in their own individual pots. All right, but look at the size of this little potato. I mean, look at this. Look at the size of that. And this is just something I found at a nursery that I go to pretty often. And I don't look at the roses I don't look at the desert roses there too much, because they all come from the same place. This company called Creekside produces these adeniums, and they're all usually exactly the same. But you know, you always keep your eyes peeled because you never know what you're going to find. And this is, I mean, look at this tater. Check out that codex. This is like literally like a potato, pulling a potato up out of the ground. But these are going to have those beautiful, beautiful blooms. You don't, this might be the fattest one I have. This might be the fattest codex I have out of all my desert roses. I mean, this is an awesome, awesome find. Like this was well worth it. I want to make sure when I'm handling it that I'm not breaking up any of the roots. I'm not going to break off any roots just yet. After I plant it, I may go through and cut some of the top ones off. But you want to be very careful not to nick and create any wounds or anything like that. So I will say I have bought from Creekside before, and one of the cool things about buying from them is typically there's more than one plant in the pot. And so I got this one, this big potato, this big old potato. We're going to find a pot for this and get this planted soon. But we also had these two little ones. These two little ones are a perfect little bonus. You know, anytime you're going to a nursery or anywhere, always look for a pot that has got multiple plants in it. So I paid $35. These, you know, somewhere else might be cost anywhere between $8 to $15 a piece. So that's $30 right there. These two basically paid for this. It's pretty wild. So let's go pick out a pot, and then we'll get this thing potted up, and I'll show you what I'm going to be using. All right, so we found a good pot. I'm a big fan of putting desert roses in terracottas. So I found one that was wide enough and deep enough to kind of get, I don't know, about halfway submerged in. I don't want the whole thing underneath it. I want to be able to show off some of this codex. And we probably are going to do some pruning on this, and I will show y'all how to do that. And now we're going to take, you can buy these pre-cut, but these are like the little bonsai screens. And what they do is whenever we're putting our soil into the bottom, this may be a lot of rocks and a lot of gritty pumice and stuff like that. We're going to put one of these at around the hole so that a lot of the particles don't fall at the bottom. So I'm just going to take it, and I got a little piece of bonsai wire, and we're going to just put a little bit of wire through the mesh and poke it through, just like so. All right, and now we're going to poke it through the hole here, just like that, and then we'll flatten it out. And you can get these little mesh, I guess you call them like bonsai mesh or drain hole mesh, whatever you want to call it. You can get them pre-cut on Amazon. I actually have them where you can buy like the whole little sheet. It's like a 6x4 inch sheet, and you can cut it to whatever size you want. We got our pot screened up for the most part. It's going to hold up really well. Let's go ahead and get our soil mixture and start getting this pot filled up and get this desert rose potted up. So for our substrate that we're going to be using for our desert rose, I've got a bucket here. So for the substrate, we're going to go with the Bonsai Supplies all-purpose bonsai mix. It's really good stuff and allows for really good drainage. It's got pumice, calcined clay, pine bark mulch, a lot of good stuff in here that allows for really good drainage. One thing I do like to use is a chopstick. We're going to use a chopstick, and I'll show you what I'm doing when I'm getting all the air pockets out of the soil. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to put a little bit at the bottom of the pot. I got my little ice scoop. I love this little ice scoop for my bonsai soil. Try not to break your pot in the process. All right. I forgot I had my turntable. I got this a while ago, and it is really nice when you're doing these little plants like this. So we got the pot about a third of the way filled up. We're going to go ahead and set this adenium in here and see how it sits. I will be doing some pruning on the roots, but I want to get this situated. So we're gonna, I don't know, we can probably add a little bit more soil actually. Every time I do an up potting on these, I'm trying to expose more and more of the codex. So once some of it in there, we're gonna leave some of it out. So we'll go ahead and, yeah, we'll go ahead and start filling it up, all right? So my goal is to get soil up underneath the roots. See, up under here. So that it stands up on its own and it kind of stands up straight. Just like that. And as I'm going, I'm going to be using my chopstick to kind of poke into the soil and get any of the air pockets out. So I'll take my chopstick and get any of the air pockets that might be little voids in the soil, kind of fill those in. So, and trying to maintain this center of this the whole time as well. And look at that fat codex, it's so beautiful. We'll keep going. Little turntable is kind of a lifesaver. I mixed some bonsai soil with a little bit of the soul soils. You're going to see those leca balls in there. Those are light, what is it called? Light expanded clay something. So we'll keep mixing this stuff up. I didn't mix it up that well. Keep going. And as I'm going, I am hitting that chopstick and getting all those air pockets out. I'm going to poke in and I'm going to wiggle. Poke in and wiggle. Poke in and wiggle. I'm not going towards it really. If I do, I'm very gentle. I want to poke the codex. But I'm going in and I'm wiggling. And when you do it, it's like the same thing as like when you pat the side of a pot. Helps the soil settle. That's what we're doing with the bonsai soil. We're just helping the help fill the voids, because when you have voids in the soil, there's going to be pockets where it holds water, and if you have water just sitting up against the side of these roots, it's going to rot them. That's why I like this aggregate soil when I'm planting something like a desert rose, because you don't want water sitting there up on those roots because they'll rot. So I'll go ahead and keep going. A little bit more. And look at this. This is so cool. I was not expecting it to look like this, were you? My wife is actually the one who spotted this one. I cannot take the credit for this like I usually do. Okay. I think we can, when we're doing soil. And this will help pack the plant in a little bit too. Helps pack the soil around the plant. And I think what we're going to do is I've got these are very sharp bonsai pruners, and we're going to prune off anything that's not touching the soil. So like right here, go and prune that off and pull that out. Go ahead and prune this off. We're going to go as close as we can to the base.
Wait. Okay.
Sorry. Make a clean cut, pull that out. And this one off. I like to prune off most of the roots if they're not actually touching the soil. Same thing here. And then we'll go ahead and we'll take this big one off right here as well. And because we just cut the base, we're not going to water this one. We're not going to water this for about a week. One more little one. Get the little hairline ones, just like that. Just like that. Because we just created a wound, basically, we're not going to water this one for about a week just to make sure it heals up. If we don't allow it to heal up before we water it, it can introduce like rot and bacteria and mildew and all kinds of crazy stuff. So you want to be mindful. Anytime you make a root cutting on an adenium or any kind of caudiform like this, I like to let them heal up before I water them. These are above the soil, so I'm not worried about them scabbing over before I put them in the soil. If I was going to be cutting below the soil, I would let it scab over before I planted it. So like anytime I make like a big cut on the bottom of the base of an adenium, I go ahead and let it scab over before I put it in the soil. So this turned out really, really nice. I mean, I don't know if y'all can tell how big this thing is. It's bigger than a softball. Like it's the size of a softball. And what they do is, if you come in close, you can see where cuts were made. Everywhere you cut these, you're going to get new growth. Everywhere you cut them, you get new growth. So make one cut and you get 3 or 4 branches. So that's why it's kind of a good idea, especially this time of year, the spring, to go ahead and prune your desert roses. If you come look at this one, the red star, everywhere I cut, even at the top right here, you can see it's producing 4 new branches. We're not going to fertilize this one just yet. I'm going to let it get settled in, let it get situated. Whenever I do start fertilizing, I usually use Nelson Plumeria food. Same thing use for my plumerias. But for now, we're going to set this maybe in the shade, kind of get it out of the way, let it heal up, let it scab over before I water it in, maybe in about a week or so. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I have inspired you to start growing desert roses. They're one of my favorite plants. They're really easy to find nowadays. You can even find them at Lowe's. So hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.